Hello, everyone. I hope all is well with you. I'm your host, Jocelyn, and welcome to What in the Black History. Hello, and welcome back. I do hope all is well with you. This week's topic is Claude McKay. Claude McKay, born Festus Claudius McKay in Sunnyvale, Jamaica in 1889, was a key figure in the Harlem Renaissance. His work ranged from vernacular verse celebrating peasant life in Jamaica to poems that protested racial and economic inequities. His philosophically ambitious fiction, including tales of black life in both Jamaica and America, addressed instinctual and intellectual duality, which McKay found central to the black individual's efforts to cope in a racist society. The son of peasant farmers, McKay was infused with pride in his African heritage. His early literary interests, though, were in English poetry. Under the tutelage of his brother, schoolteacher Uriah Theophilus McKay, and a neighboring Englishman, Walter Jekyll, McKay studied the British masters including John Milton, Alexander Pope, and the later Romantics, and European philosophers such as eminent pessimist Arthur Schopenhauer, whose works Jekyll was then translating from German into English. It was Jekyll who advised aspiring poet McKay to write verse in Jamaican dialect. At age 17, McKay departed from Sunnyvale to apprentice as a woodworker in Brownstown, but he studied there only briefly before leaving to work as a constable in the Jamaican capital, Kingston. In Kingston, he experienced and encountered extensive racism. His native Sunnyvale was predominantly black, but in substantially white Kingston, black people were considered inferior and capable of only menial tasks. McKay quickly grew disgusted with the city's bigoted society, and within 1 year he returned home to Sunnyvale. During his brief stays in Brownstown and Kingston, McKay continued writing poetry. Once back in Sunnyvale, with Jekyll's encouragement, he published the verse collections Songs of Jamaica and Constab Ballads in London in 1912. In these two volumes, McKay portrays opposing aspects of black life in Jamaica. Songs of Jamaica presented an almost celebratory portrait of peasant life, while Constab Ballads presented a substantially bleaker perspective on the plight of black Jamaicans and contained several poems explicitly critical of life in urban Kingston. For Songs of Jamaica, McKay received an award and stipend from the Jamaican Institute of Arts and Sciences. He used the money to finance a trip to America, and in 1912, he arrived in South Carolina. He then traveled to Alabama and enrolled at the Tuskegee Institute, where he studied for approximately 2 months before transferring to Kansas State College. In 1914, he left school entirely for New York City and worked various menial jobs. As in Kingston, McKay encountered racism in New York City, and this compelled him to continue writing poetry. In 1917, under the pseudonym Eli Edwards, McKay published 2 poems in the periodical Seven Arts. Critic Frank Haddis admired his work and included some of McKay's other poems in Pearson's magazine. Among McKay's most famous poems from this period is To the White Fiends, a vitriolic challenge to white oppressors and bigots. A few years later, McKay befriended Max Eastman, communist sympathizer and editor of the magazine Liberator. McKay published more poems in Eastman's magazine, notably the inspirational If We Must Die, which defended black rights and threatened retaliation for prejudice and abuse. Upon publication of If We Must Die, McKay commenced 2 years of travel and worked abroad. He spent part of 1919 in Holland and Belgium, then moved to London and worked on the periodical Workers' Dreadnought. In 1920, he published his third verse collection, Spring in New Hampshire. McKay returned to the United States in 1921 and involved himself in various social causes. He redoubled his efforts on behalf of blacks and laborers and became involved in the Universal Negro Improvement Association and produced several articles for its publication, Negro World. He also traveled to the Soviet Union, where he had previously visited with Eastman and attended the Communist Party's Fourth Congress. Eventually, McKay went to Paris, where he developed a severe respiratory infection and supported himself intermittently by working as an artist's model. His infection eventually necessitated his hospitalization. After he recovered, he resumed traveling. For the next 11 years, he toured Europe and portions of northern Africa. During this period, he also published 3 novels and a short story collection. By the late 1930s, McKay had developed a keen interest in Catholicism. Through Ellen Terry, who wrote children's books, he became active in Harlem's Friendship House. His newfound religious interests, together with his observations and experiences at the Friendship House, inspired his essay collection, Harlem, Negro Metropolis, that came out in 1940, which offers an account of the black community in Harlem during the 1920s and 1930s. McKay moved to Chicago and worked as a teacher for a Catholic organization. By the mid-1940s, his health had deteriorated. He endured several illnesses throughout his last years and eventually died of heart failure in 1948. And that is the end of the episode this week. I hope that you enjoyed the episode, and I hope you'll join me next week. And until then, keep glowing and keep growing. Bye. Thank you for joining me today on What in the Black History. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a 5-star rating on Spotify to help the show grow. You can also help the show grow by telling your friends, family, and coworkers to listen in. Stream What in the Black History on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And if you have any suggestions on little-known Black history facts that you think that I should do, email me at whatintheblackhistory@gmail.com. Bye.